And we're back for our fourth game of the evening. Got two brand new teams for the first time. And, not brand new teams in the league as a whole, but brand new here today. And it's kind of one of the fun things I enjoy about the ADL. We have the stacked best of 1 days where we'll have one team in action 2-3 times. But always nice for a nice change of pace, and that's what we're going to get here with Denial Esports taking on Team Dignitas. Two outstanding North American squads. Dignitas, of course, the direct invite to the International 3. One of the best teams on the planet, and Denial going to be looking to steal a win against them. Dignitas has already been upset once here in the ADL, taking a loss to Arctic. So not wanting to be the David to another Goliath here today. I'm here in AC Chambers, joined live by my good friend, the Capitalist. That's actually a lie. We met a long time ago, and I totally forgot, and he embarrassed me and made me feel bad because I didn't remember, but his name is Austin Walsh. And Austin, welcome in, my friend.
Oh, thanks for having me. You know, I actually did that to Grant earlier. I was like, we met at TI2, and he was like, really? No, it was Spitwad. I'm sorry, it was Spitwad. I was like, yeah, we actually met at TI2, but that's okay. You were very, very busy, man. So I didn't expect you to remember.
Well,
us
especially
meeting,
at the international too. I was brand new, and I'd only been casting Dota at that point, but for like 3-4 months or something like that. So I was just really overwhelmed with new faces and new names and all that. So I think I get a pass. I think I get an excuse. But, of course, always happy to have you on, and this will be our second time broadcasting together. The second, or when I say second game of today. Today represents the first time. And hope we make it more of a habit in the future, my friend. Really enjoying myself. Denial and Team Dignitas, as mentioned, two outstanding North American squads. Dignitas needs no introduction. Denial led by Eosin, a guy who was the namesake of a team known as Eosin +4, who had some limited success, pulled off a few wins here and there in Star Ladder group stage, the defense group stage. But, I mean, it's a squad that, from what I can tell and having watched them play, they have a lot of potential, but just like so many teams here in the ADL, a team who just needs to get that experience under their belt.
Yeah, this is sort of the reshuffle of his former team. So you've got still some of the same players in here, some experienced players that have worked with Eosin before. You know, you recently talked about Meanix. Meanix actually is, in my mind, one of the top Brazilian teams, and they actually got taken out by Denial Esports recently. So, you know, that goes to show some of the potential in this relatively new team that Eosin has put together. And, you know, they've been able to face off against some of the big top American teams, you know, EG and Team Liquid, and they lost to both of those. Now they're going for the full trifecta, going up against Dignitas. Hopefully they can pull something out, and that if they can manage to take a game off of the Dignitas, that would be a huge boost to them in the competitive scene, really get their name out there.
Darkseer and the EO band out from Denial. No Lone Druid or Lifestealer joining us from Dignitas. Shadow Demon will be the counter pick to Bad Rider. Beautiful counter pick, SD. One of the better, more effective, more reliable counters to Bad Rider, at least until the Bad gets himself a Force Staff. And, you know, giving away a Bad Rider, it's one of those things, you have to do it. You have to plan the rest of your drafting phase around it, because the Bad is just such a monster in the early game. The fact, you know, when you see a Bat come out, especially for a team like Dignitas, and I actually had an extended conversation with Liquid's Bulba about this. A good friend of mine, he came on for a broadcast not long ago on the D2L, and we talked a bit, or actually I think it was the ADL now that I think about it. Yeah, it was the ADL. And we talked a bit about Dignitas, and an observation I've had for a number of months now is that Dignitas is a team that really does not play well from behind. They're a team who likes to be on the enemy side of the river, who likes to be in control, and every team does. But whenever they're unable to do that, even if it's a stalemate, even if they're only behind a bit, their team tends to struggle a little bit. They tend to take a lot of losses in situations like that. And Bulba really phrased it in a way that kind of made it all click into place. And this is something that I think is going to be relevant, especially with that Bad Rider pick. It's the fact that Dignitas makes a lot of calculated sacrifices, especially for AUI. What they'll do is sacrifice AUI's early farm or AUI's early start just to make sure that one or two supports get an excellent start. In particular, Darkseer. Every time they get a Darkseer, they prioritize getting the earliest possible mech that they can, and then they try to take control, play aggressive in the mid-game, free the map up for Aoi so he can then catch up, he can then get on par, and in doing so, they're often able to deny a lot of support levels, a lot of support gold to the enemy team. But the counterpoint to that is that if they do that and then they're unable to succeed in the mid-game in being aggressive, all of a sudden you have a carry player, a very talented carry player in AUI, who is behind in levels, behind in gold, and doesn't really have that space to catch up. So this is very much their drafting style and the way they like to play. Get a Bad Rider. Jakiro comes out. That's a hero they have been prioritizing immensely. And I think for a large part, again, again, Jakiro, no matter what level, he only needs 1 point. So long as it's in the ice path, that hero can be of high value in one way or another. And I would expect with these two already coming out and just knowing this Dignitas squad, they will be looking to use that same high-octane, high-flying style that has made them so successful in the past.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely agree. With Bulba said, it really makes sense. I mean, because one of their star players is Snaking, right? He's a relatively well-known player, and it's because he's so young, and he's got one of those personalities that people definitely recognize, whether for good or for bad. But he's definitely one of those players that if he gets shut down in his middle lane, he has a hard time coming back into the game. And I think that just goes to show that there's so much potential in this team, especially a very young, age-speaking wise, a very young team. They have so much potential if they could just sort of temper and really get some discipline and some patience in their team. I think they could be a huge impact on the scene. But recently, they haven't been doing so well. They have a lot of signature heroes, and they've already picked up one of them.
Yeah,
picked up by Team Dignitas. Very nice to see.
Well, it's the thing about that Doom pick. I don't really see the purpose of it right now. When Doom comes out, he tends to come out late. He is a bit of a surprise pick. I highly doubt Denial was going to pick that away from them or take it away from them. I'm not sure why it would come out in the third position, and the way it was picked out as well. I mean, Queen of Pain, yes, it's nice to be able to Doom a Queen of Pain, but she's very mobile to begin with. Chances are she's going to get off at least 2 of her abilities before you're able to get a Doom on her, just because she's going to be in the back of the fight. She's going to be in a flanking position. Very rarely do you see Queen of Pain just get completely and utterly pounced upon because of how high mobility she is. The Nyx Assassin, okay, Carapace is a pain in the ass, and Impale. I'm not entirely sold on the Doom pick as of right now. Not to say it's bad. Doom can jungle very effectively. A little bit of good luck, and he jungles as good as just about anyone in the entire game. If he's able to get a very early consume a very early wildkin, he could stack the hard camp and then use Tornado to clear it off, then duck back into the base and have a very fast Midas if he wants to go that direction. But post 6.78, the way Doom's going to be built, certainly a question that's still up for debate. The buff to his Aghanim Scepter really is one of the most interesting buffs I've ever seen go into Dota, because it does it's a different dynamic. It's not just numbers or damage or silence or anything like that. It's the fact that it takes a skill that's already good and makes it better in a creative way, which is once he gets a scepter up, and if he stays on top of a target within a certain range, the countdown on his ultimate Doom, which is of course the longest single target duration silence in the entire game, that countdown stops. So you have the theoretical possibility of an infinite silence so long as a fight's going on, so long as he focuses on one singular target. Denial going to go ahead and grab up the Alchemist. That'll be their physical DPS to balance Queen of Pain. Eosin, a farm-happy guy. He's one of those dudes, he's like a Burning, man. He's a Burning type. Loves to just sit and work on his max GPM. Dignitas, though, again, with this lineup we already see and what they're banning out, they're getting rid of heroes that do well in the mid-game. Juggernaut, Gyrocopter, etc. They're going to be looking to push the envelope early, I would guess.
Yeah, and it really fits into Denial Esports' strategy and their playstyle. You're looking at potentially a very aggressive tri-lane. What they do like to do when the games that I've seen from them is one of the options that they have is to go an aggro tri-lane here. Obviously, Queen of Pain in the middle, but they can pick up a harder carry in that sort of safe lane. They like to be able to do that. They like to be able to put pressure in that other lane, and you've got the potential here. I mean, Shadow Demon setting up the disruption, the extra damage coming in as well. That leaves time for a very long stun to come out from that unstable concoction. They've got some very powerful nuking coming out. So Denial Esports, you may see an aggressive tri lane here. I'm interested to see what their final pickup is, because Team Dignitas, you were talking about, there isn't really much room. There isn't much reason for Doom to be picked up this early, and you're absolutely right. Doom can be picked up later, and
seconds remaining.
Denial Esports, the chance of them banning out a Doom, even though it is a signature of Team Dignitas, isn't that high. So that means they must be doing something a little bit interesting with their strategy. And one of the answers right here, Shadow Fiend. That's a hero that we haven't seen a whole lot in the meta. Sometimes he'll come in occasionally, but he never lasts for long. I personally really think that defensive tri-lanes back in Dota 1, we used to see some defensive tri-lanes with the Shadow Fiend picked up. I think we're going to see a return of that, but we'll have to see what Team Dignitas thinks about that.
Well, the problem with that is Shadow Fiend, just by nature of how he works, really does want a solo lane. Solo mid Chansey would not work out too well against Queen of Pain. And, whenever I see something like that, that actually serves as an indication that we might see an offensive tri-lane out of them. Shadow Fiend, in almost every situation, really wants to be in a solo safe lane farming position if he can. Denial could offensively try lane, as you had said. The issue I have with it is Nyx Assassin needs level 3 before he is really at all effective in that role. Level 1 Impale is just awful. It's a 1-second stun. The damage is unimpressive. Alchemist with Unstable Concoction is a nice follow-up to Shadow Demon, but his right click at that stage of the game is very, very low as well. He simply doesn't have enough skill points to spread across his various abilities.
10 seconds remaining.
And, I mean, again, it comes down to how Denial wants to play this. Just knowing Eos's
5
tendencies, though,
seconds remaining.
he's going to be a hard farmer. He is definitely the type. He's a very Loda-esque kind of a guy who will occasionally hit some
5
mid-game
seconds remaining.
timings, but from what I've seen of him, really does a black type of guy that really does enjoy trying to hit the. And that's actually a really interesting pick. That's kind of confounding a little bit. I think they're going to 3 support tri-lane this. That makes the most sense, actually. Send the Alchemist into the solo safe lane, assuming an off-lane bat, and then send the Queen of Pain mid, then run the Bane, the Nyx Assassin, and a Shadow Demon in an offensive tri-lane. Problem is, they don't have a lot of kill potential. They just don't have a ton of damage, although they could... I'll tell you what I think they're going to do. They may end up running that
10
Bane mid
seconds remaining.
with the Alchemist solo safe lane, then Queen of Pain, Nyx Assassin, and Shadow Demon in an offensive tri-lane. I've actually seen tri-lanes like that being used more and more often now, with the Queen of Pain actually in the off lane. But anyway, Dignitas rounds out their 5 with the Treant Protector. Treant getting a lot of play, man. A lot of folks loving the tree lately.
Yeah. I mean, there's been a lot of hate. Recently, there was a... Loda tweeted the fact that they were playing up against Quantic Gaming, and he said it was one of the most frustrating combos he'd ever gone up against. Treant Protector in some sort of support offlane or something like that, and OD in the middle. You know, it's just one of those really glass cannon style heroes that is really susceptible to ganks, but when you have a Treant Protector on your team, it's just so hard to get in those final kills. We're going to have to see Team Dignitas. It looks like they are going to be going for that defensive tri-lane I was talking about earlier, but one of the problems is they do have the Radiant Jungle, so that's a big advantage to them, being able to double and triple pull pretty easily. So they're going to have to focus on getting the experience purely from the jungle, because like you said, Shadow Fiend is very much one of those heroes who needs some sort of solo experience. He likes to be able to get all of the CS, and he likes to get that solo experience. It's really necessary for him to get those levels early on. That way he's not so squishy and can output a lot of damage going into the mid game. Farm is going to be very, very important for him, so I like the fact that they're running him safe lane. It'll ensure him to be able to get in a very early BKB versus this team. Doom in middle versus this Nyx Assassin. This is what I thought they were going to be doing. Denial, they're going for an aggressive tri-lane with this Bane. I'm not sure if it's going to work out for them personally. You've got 2 very defensive supports in both Shadow Demon and Bane together.
Yep.
But this will free up Queen of Pain to be a solo safe lane top.
This doesn't make a lot of sense to me, just to be completely honest. If you're going to do something like this with an Alchemist, I mean, Shadow Demon Alchemist is fine. Bane, basically Bane and Shadow Demon tend to serve the same purpose. They lead off an engagement. They have good range on 2 abilities, then the Disruption and the Nightmare. Then you want to follow that with a stun. Then you want to have one more sense of lockdown to go with it. And this feels like a very risky offensive tri-lane, because if it goes wrong and they end up feeding a kill or 2, they literally just have to abandon it. They will have nowhere near enough damage to ever kill anyone off, and it's going to be tough enough with the Treant Protector as it is. And I think putting in the other big problem is Alchemist is melee. Going up against two very, very effective harassers in the Shadow Demon, or excuse me, the Shadow Fiend and the Jakiro. It's going to be chancy for him, and once a few stacks of Necromastery are picked up by this Shadow Fiend, you know, even with Enfeeble, as annoying as that is, he's going to have a real hard time coming forward to CS. Queen versus Batrider up here. Batrider actually does pretty well against Queen of Pain, and right there's why. This makes it very, very difficult for her to stand and stay in lane. And she also doesn't have access to runes, and she is a hero who does like to have the bottle. The Batrider can usually get away without a lot of mana being expended. Queen, of course, will be able to harass him quite a bit. But the lane choices, I totally get the concept, but I'm just not sure that based on what Dignitas had showed them that this was the correct decision.
Yeah, you know, one of the hardest things about Queen of Pain is that you can't... The biggest part of her is that Shadow Strike very early on is very harassive, but when you're going up against that sticky napalm, it's hard to be able to do that. Batrider can just go in and out. This is a different type of aggro try that we sometimes see where it's purely built on being able to shut down the other carry's CS. They're not going for kills here. But like you said, it's still going to be hard. Shadow Fiend right now, he's obviously going to have a really hard time getting in that CS due to Enfeeble. But once he picks up level 2, level 3, and he has those nukes available to him, he should still be able to pick up those easy souls. And that's just going to begin to snowball for them. So, you know, I would have preferred to see a kill tri lane, but, you know, we'll have to see. I mean, against this tri lane from Dignitas, they know they're never going to be gone on. It's not a very aggressive tri lane by any means with that Treant Protector. But at the same time, they're really going to miss out on a lot of experience and gold by not being able to have that pull, which you see has already been counter-warded. They already got the ward, and they're going to have a giant experience lead because of this.
Taking a look elsewhere on the map here in mid, Guanzo going up against Dune. Now this is going to be a very important Nyx assassin, the fact that he is getting the mid prioritization. He's going to have to be effective very early on. Eosin sitting at just level 2 right now. He does have 7 CS, so at the top we're going to have, wow, yeah, that shouldn't happen. That's really all there is to it. Aoi able to just get the solo kill, very well done by him. But yeah, Queen we knew was going to have a hard time. Should usually not be dying to a Batrider, but you know, that's a big part of my question is, you know, if in this situation, I can't help but feel like, you know, you're putting your Queen into a situation that's iffy at best. You have your tri-lane that's iffy at best as the game wears on in particular. And in mid, you're giving prioritization to a Nyx assassin, which is grand, but you're also going to allow, I mean, Doom's not going to struggle here. I mean, he's not going to have a problem controlling runes for the most part, shouldn't have a problem with bottle flip. So, I mean, at this point, Denial's just going to have to outplay their opponents. And it's always going to be tough when you're up against this Team Dignitas squad. We can see Dignitas is leading in CS, 16 and 14 respectively for Dune in the bat. 12, 11, and 8, bringing up the rear there for Denial.
Yeah, I mean, Ush is going to get absolutely nothing. Now that he gave up First Blood, Batrider has such a huge lead. Honestly, I think a lot of Queen of Pains, they should just go for a 0-2-4 build on Queen of Pain. Against a hard lane like this, we're not going to be able to use Shadow Strike effectively without getting punished heavily. Just focus on getting that second level in Blink and just maxing out Scream of Pain. But he went for a second level of Shadow Strike, and that's really going to hurt him, especially given the fact that Treant Protector is on the other team. He's a really big hero to help out some of these 1v1 lanes. I mean, as you see, snaking in middle, he's doing a very good job. He's gotten his double damage. He's been able to pretty much get free farm in this lane, and there's nothing Guanzo can do about that. And AUI, with the Treant armor that he's getting, can just stomp all over Ush.
Right now, if there is one good thing they have going for them, it's that the Shadow Fiend is suffering a bit in terms of CS. He's being doubled up at this point by the Alchemist. And but again, I'm just really suspect. I mean, level 3 on the Jakiro. He's got 1 point in Ice Path, all he needs, 1 in the Dual Breath. We're going to see Dignitas look to get aggressive here. I mean, they have the disruption, too, like you said, two largely either defensive supports or supports that are really reliant on having another follow-up stun. And the Alchemist, in terms of level, I haven't even checked his level yet. He is level 3, so same level as the Jakiro. The Shadow Fiend himself, level 3, so they are pretty even in that regard. And really, Dignitas is struggling a bit in their lane management, it seems. They need to get this sucked back or shoved out. You can go either direction, but a little bit of challenging of the pole camp here. And got to admit, Denial's doing a pretty good job out of this tri-lane.
Yeah, they're really shutting down Universe, but the problem is that Shadow Fiend is a hero that really explodes in the mid-game, because once he gets those levels, he just bursts down waves really, really quickly, and then goes into the jungle, cleans up some experience, and some extra gold there. So even though they're shutting him down now, he's still getting the experience that he's going to need to be able to come into the mid-game and be able to have a whole bunch of farm. You know, they can shut him down as much as they want with auto-attacking early on in the laning phase. He's still getting those levels that he needs.
1-0. First Blood went the way of Dignitas. We have a brief pause. Not sure what the issue happens to be, but so far, relatively quiet. And very rare to have things be this quiet, actually, whenever you have a try-on-try situation. Hope you guys are enjoying the show. Welcome in to each and every one of you, no matter what corner of the globe you happen to call home. And there we go. Looks like Jan. I always want to call him Jan. His name's actually Jan. But he has reconnected. Didn't even know he had disconnected. But hopefully we'll be ready to get back underway momentarily. While we do have a moment, just a reminder that we have 2 more games today, including this one. So we have this plus 1 more on the docket for the day. And then we'll be back tomorrow with a whole bunch of them. They're going to pursue out Eosin. Yep, there's the Shadow Rays. And they may be able to get him here. Nope, Triet did not get off the leech seed. Thought he was going to be in range. But making himself up and burn through a little bit of extra region.
You know, the biggest problem I have with this tri lane is not only are they not going to shut down Shadow Fiend efficiently in the mid game, the fact that they can't go aggressive top, actually.
There's a disruption on bottom. They're going to make a run at Universe. Universe enfeebled, eating a bit of damage, and Brain Sap plus some auto attacks will be enough. Now the re-engagement, Eosin likely to be picked off here as he tries to retreat. Way2's right behind him. The Jakiro Fog doesn't have enough mana, though, and Way2 cut him off. Chim doing a little body blocking and managing to buy him time to get back. That right there is huge. The fact that they got one and it didn't cost them anything. 2-1. And Dignitas actually did the Dignitas end up... did Aoi die?
You know, I actually stopped watching. I think he actually lived.
Okay.
Yeah, he got out. He just barely got out. Shadow Poison left him with something like 10 health, and then he was able to teleport away from there. But yeah, this is exactly what they needed. They needed to force pressure, because not only are they not getting many kills in this lane and really shutting Shadow Fiend down from levels, but that also allows Tree to be able to focus his armor on some of these solo lanes. If they had a more aggressive tri lane, Tree would never be able to give that armor to Batrider, and Queen of Pain would actually have a chance in this lane to be able to stay in lane. But Guanzo, he's doing what he needs to do, man. He knows. Perfect timing.
And here comes the sentries. There's the Ice Path fogged. Likely to be cleaned up. Carapace, no mana to burn off, unfortunately, for Guanzo. And Dignitas knew it was coming. Doom is in the meantime taking a tower. There's going to be a downtown unstable concoction. They try to follow it up. Dual Breath catches Eosin and Chim both. They'll get one. And now with the bat there, ready to pour it on. Guanzo rotating back on. There's another Ice Path. Catches him out. Guanzo uses the Impale. A lasso from Maui. Going to drag them back. Here comes the Queen of Pain. And it's an all-out war zone down here. Disruption disjoints things momentarily. Shadow Rays does good damage. Here comes Doom. What a flame break! Caught all four. That's gonna... Oh, yes, sir! Jakiro lands a 3-man Ice Path and increases that kill count quite a bit. Here comes Eosin. Doomed as soon as he lands. He's down below half health and Universe survives. Dignitas and Denial making this bottom lane an absolute killing field, unfortunately, for Denial. Dignitas walking away with the most tombstones erected, 7-1. Following that engagement, fantastic play out of Aoi and out of Fogged. I'm going to tell you right now, last time I saw Fogged before today on Jakiro, he was an absolute monster, and he remains an absolute monster. Ban that hero against this Dignitas squad.
Yeah, that was just really well done. Starting from the counter and then the teleports in and the beautiful play. All around, just really well done by Dignitas, showing why they're definitely one of the top American teams in this scene right now. So they freed themselves up a lot of room. They've been able to take a tower. That's a huge influx of gold for them. Shadow Fiend, while he's still very low in levels, it's 9 minutes in, he's going to be able to have the time to come back. They've given him a lot of room now. He can go into the jungle. They can stack up a little bit. In fact, they've already got one stack going on. He's going to be able to farm that and get in those levels that he's been missing out on being in a tri lane. That the supports have really been sapping a lot of the experience away from him. But with those kills, he's going to have the room to come back.
Taking a look at how these teams are going to end up matching up in the mid game, especially after that. CS, Doom's on top, Bats behind, Queen of Pain, and the Alchemist right where you would expect them to be, given they are just flat out in some tough lanes. And the Shadow Fiend making up some nice ground. The fact that he's 3-1 now following that engagement, that basically makes up for his one death. Ice Path catches Eosin. Eosin going to eat the Shadow Rays. Couple more. Dual Breath. And with the tower down, nowhere to retreat from. He'll be right-click down for sure. One or two more. Wow. Fogged actually did not take one right-click. One more might have done it. But they pull back just to play safe as the Bane arrived. I guess worrying the Chim might have had some help behind him. As is, we're going to have the Doom up on Oosh. Can't go anywhere. There's a disruption to buy him time, I think. Nope, the Doom's going to run out of duration. So he manages to get away, sneaking, staying right on top of Jan, and actually using his stolen Centaur Stomp to let him know he means business. Aoi's there. There's a Flame Break going to catch Guanzo. They're going to re-engage. And the mana burn on Aoi, very important, by the way. Carapace stuns him momentarily, but he will have to retreat. Nightmare Lock sneaking down. That's removed very quickly. And Chen now eats the damage from level death. They're going to pursue this out, and the Flame Break did catch Guanzo and Jan. Jan will be a kill for sure. Guanzo's still under haste rune. He is going to have it wear off, but we have 1 TP already up. So once again, the action coming very hot and heavy on both of these teams. Dignitas adds another kill to their total, make it 8-1, and the gold well in their favor. 7,500 the advantage as Batrider finishes his Blink Dagger as well.
Yeah, and this is really where you're going to see the strategy from Dignitas begin to shine. You've got Batrider and Doom. Both heroes really enjoy long, drawn-out team fights and are relatively tanky. Doom is pretty tanky. Batrider is hard to shut down because of the maneuverability he gets from Firefly and his Blink Dagger that he's picked up already. So they're going to be able to force a lot of pressure in these other lanes, and that's going to make Denial Esports pretty much they have to turn a blind eye to Universe, who's going to be able to farm up very, very quickly. I mean, he's almost level 7. He's almost got those maxed out races. That's when Shadow Fiend begins to absolutely explode. And Neek's Assassin, he needs to continue shutting him down, but the problem is, if they focus on Shadow Fiend, you're just going to see Doom and Batrider just run train, taking towers, and killing heroes left and right. So their attention's going to have to be split, and it's going to be hard to shut down Dignitas entirely. Where they can shut down one side, you know, the Batrider and the Doom, if they can maybe get a counter kill or something like that on them, Shadow Fiend's going to be farming, and if they go for Shadow Fiend, you know Doom and Batrider are going to be getting kills.
Back to the Shadow Fiend. Really given Dignitas' lineup, they have no reason to fear taking a fight against Denial. And again, I kind of touched on this during the draft. You know, what they picked here, they have a lot of... They have a great answer to the Batrider in the Shadow Fiend. They have a lot of single target. Again, the Queen of Pain, obviously the antithesis of that, very much an AoE-centric sort of a hero with Scream of Pain and Sonic Wave. But yeah, I was actually going to say the Shadow Fiend may just get a straight-up Shadow Blade, not worry about BKB, and just say, you know what, we can run you over. Because we've got Doom, he can lock one down. Batrider is going to allow us to take one person out of the fight if we focus fire correctly. Treant Protector is going to give us at least some sort of an AoE reset button if we need it. Doom actually picks up the Shadow Blade as well. And so Sneaking and Shadow Fiend both prioritizing mid-game damage. And already, we can see how hard he's hitting. 28 souls in his Necromastery at the moment. It will be maxed out next with his next level. Has not put a level into his ulti yet, but I don't think he needs it. I mean, Nyx Assassin's going to approach him here. This is the only real answer they have, and he will be spotted by the Ward in the Sentry. He goes under cover of Shadow Blade and pursues it out, but nothing going to be there. But this is Dignitas Dota. You can see how much they're choking them out already, and now Shadow Fiend's actually going to get a kill. And now here comes Owie. They're going to grab one and grab two. So that's two very simple kills, 3 heroes down, and all of a sudden the game, and Oosh is actually going to be doomed, eats the level death and max damage from it. Sneaking going to dive him out, doesn't even have to. He could have just left that go. There's no way she could have run back home fast enough. But yeah, this is Dignitas Dota. Get ahead and choke the enemy, and that's exactly what they're doing. You look at their positioning with those towers down, no room to breathe. Ice Path going to catch Guanzo. Sneaking's right there. He is going to be stunned by the Carapace, but the ulti from Tree guarantees he's going nowhere. 13-1, and the rich get richer.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at Dignitas lineups, as long as they did decently well in the early phase, in the early laning phase, they could come out into the mid-game with just some unadulterated aggression. And even Shadow Fiend, hero who's supposed to be farming right now, is able to pick off that Alchemist. Alchemist is so underfarmed. He's a relatively squishy hero when he doesn't have his Chemical Rage up. So if you're able to put in some burst physical damage and maybe even a couple of nukes in, you can take him down really, really quickly before he can actually pop that Chemical Rage.
And this is kind of what, you know, when I saw the lanes come out, I just didn't understand the purpose of it. They sacrificed and gained nothing. Like, if you're going to sacrifice an Alchemist farm, you need to be getting somebody else farmed. But a Queen of Pain versus a Bat, I mean, not to say it would have been necessarily a lot better if it was Eosin versus the Batrider, but I mean, why even allow that situation to exist at all? I mean, why not just tri-lane the Alchemist, get him to a good start, and then just try to make sure you hold the line in the mid-game, because you know Dignitas really, really prefers to be aggressive. And, wow, stuns are out, level death, she blinks. Oh, barely dodges the Shadow Race that came from Shadow Fiend. They're going to re-engage. There's a Flame Break and the ulti from the Shadow Fiend. Lasso going to grab Guanzo. He's focus fire down. Eosin next on the list. Sonic Wave caught them, but so little damage done, it doesn't matter. Eosin cleaned up. Oosh doing what damage he can, but now Jan's going to make it 3 down. Chim and Oosh can't do much, but stare at their own fate. He may get Owie. Nope. Owie able to survive as well. And really, yeah, the GG's come out, and you can't blame him. 17 to do, 15.5 minutes in. The gold after that fight, back for the second time today. And again, it actually is a rarity to see a team generate more than 1,000 gold per minute lead, but Dignitas able to do so as they roll to a Game 1 win.
Yeah, I mean, they knew they couldn't come back from this game. There are certain points where Alchemist is really strong, and you mentioned, they didn't really give an Alchemist much farm. He really needs to pick up Shadow Blade, and then he can be sort of a ganking carry that can do a lot. But in order for him to become a true hard carry, he needs AC and he needs Abyssal, and that was going to be a long time before he got that. So they tapped out very early, and I don't blame them.
15 minutes, 50 seconds, the official game time, 17-2. Final kill score. Dignitas rolls and puts our 4th game of the day in the books. Dignitas improving their record and showing, you know what? We dropped one game to one of these teams. We're not about to drop another. And this is just what happens when things come together for a team like Dignitas. Such a momentum-based squad. They improved their record to 5-2 with that win. That'll move them into a tie with Evil Geniuses, Arctic themselves, and let's see, typical mistakes. Yeah, they actually won, so they moved up. They'll be in 5th position. But with that loss, we're going to see them. Denial. I don't know why, for whatever reason, their name fled me. They fall to 2-4, and now in the bottom half of the standings. Our last match of the day going to be Pain Gaming International taking on Typical Mistakes once again in their 4th match of the day. And if they're able to get a win, they're actually going to leap into 2nd place here in the ADL standings. Still very early on. We're in week 2, the tail end of week 2. We'll be finishing things up coming up next. I'm Aaron AC Chambers, joined by Austin Walsh, known as The Cap. Let's stick around, guys. We'll be right back.